World News Tonight, a letter to the Senate Majority Leader's office test positive for anthrax. There are new procedures as well as anxiety in mailrooms all across the country. The latest U.S. mission in Afghanistan, 400,000 leaflets which say the U.S. is here to help. And in so many towns and smaller cities, how life is different. A whole new set of priorities.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to begin tonight with the anthrax scare, and it is scary for anyone who has been threatened in this way. First, it was a tabloid newspaper, then Microsoft, and then NBC. Today, it was anthrax in the Senate. ABC's Brian Ross is here tonight to report first on Washington, Brian, and then the rest of the country.
Yes, Peter, today it was a letter received in the office of Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle. Authorities told ABC News the letter contained powder and a simple note handwritten in English that read, "This is anthrax." The letter arrived in Senator Daschle's office on Friday and was opened and handled by an intern and a staff member this morning.
A letter was received in his office in the Hart Senate office building, which contained a powdery substance. There was an exposure when the letter was opened.
2 tests for anthrax were positive, and all mail deliveries in the Capitol were stopped as investigators in protective suits tried to determine how far the anthrax might have spread. Senator Daschle said his staff members were being treated with antibiotics.
I feel so badly for each of them. They are innocent people caught up in a matter for which they have nothing to do. I am very, very disappointed and angered.
Authorities say the letter to Daschle, as well as the NBC anthrax letter discovered last week, were both postmarked at the Central Postal Facility in Trenton, New Jersey, on the same day, September 18th. Trenton is now the center of the investigation. Mail from some 46 area post offices is fed in to be postmarked here.
We are confident that we will be able to identify the location from where that was mailed.
Also today, anthrax was discovered in the Boca Raton post office in Florida that handled mail for the American Media Company, where one person died from anthrax. A senior federal health official told ABC News the strain of anthrax found in Florida is confirmed as the so-called AIM strain, a strain originally cultivated in Iowa but used in research laboratories around the world. Leading authorities on biological agents say the AIM strain strongly suggests a sophisticated operation. At the White House, President Bush was asked if there is a connection to Osama bin Laden.
We're making sure that we connect any dots that we have to find out who's doing this, and I wouldn't put it past him, but we don't have hard evidence yet.
Authorities said tonight the letters to NBC and to Senator Daschle were different. The letter to NBC, a simple 3x5 envelope. The letter to Senator Daschle, Peter, wrapped in tape and strangely bundled, they said.
Many thanks, Brian. Brian Ross, they certainly had some hard evidence on Capitol Hill today of what is going on and that someone out there means to do harm. Senator Daschle's staff was quarantined for several hours today after anthrax was delivered to the office. ABC's Linda Douglas is on Capitol Hill tonight, Linda, where tight security has suddenly got even tighter.
Absolutely. The mood here, as you can imagine, Peter, is very tense, even as lawmakers are urging the public to stay calm.
By this afternoon, guided tours of the Capitol were canceled. The plaza in front was deserted. Throughout the Capitol, unopened mail was carted away. All of it will be painstakingly screened from now on. Delivery men were turned back. Capitol Police went from one office to another, responding to reports of suspicious mail. Alaska Senator Frank Murkowski's office was one of at least 12 whose mail was checked.
We had found a very strange envelope that had appeared with no postage.
Yet even as more concrete barriers were installed at Capitol entrances, officials insisted the public will be allowed in tomorrow to watch the House and Senate proceedings. On the Senate floor, Daschle insisted the Congress will not be paralyzed.
The Senate and this institution will not stop. We will not cease our business. We will continue to work.
But Senator Trent Lott, for example, wants to put a bulletproof shield in the Senate chamber between the public and the senators. And Senator Lott is considering calling in the National Guard to relieve the overworked Capitol Police. And tonight, Peter, Senator Dianne Feinstein of California said she is going to buy gas masks and rubber gloves for her staff to use opening the mail.
Thank you, Linda. Linda Douglas on Capitol Hill. Just to give you a fuller picture of the anthrax situation in the country as we know it, there have been 2 cases of full-blown exposure to anthrax so far, one in New York and the other in Florida, where a man died from it. 10 other people in New York and Florida have tested positive for anthrax spores, and that is classified as an exposure. And in 2 other places, Reno, Nevada, and today on Capitol Hill, there have been incidents involving anthrax, but no one has tested positive yet. All this attention being given to anthrax has placed a tremendous burden on the medical community. In some places where anthrax has been even vaguely reported, hospitals report being under pressure from people who believe that they need to be tested. As ABC's John McKenzie reports tonight, in many cases, the medical community is not prepared.
You can use topical
At the annual meeting of America's emergency physicians today, the most popular lecture was how to diagnose symptoms of a biological attack.
If you see even one case of smallpox, that's terrorism.
It was extraordinarily unlikely 10 years ago that anyone would ever see a case of anthrax. Now that it's happened, we're refreshing our memories on the things that we need to know to deal with it for the next one.
A study published in the Annals of Emergency Medicine today warns that many hospitals may not be ready for the next one. The survey of 30 hospitals found not one considered itself prepared for a large-scale biological attack. 13% had no decontamination plans. 77% had no staff trained for biological attacks. 97% had no stockpile of drugs for such an emergency. Today's report is the latest, highlighting problems facing many public health systems across the country as they prepare for a chemical or biological attack. Some of the biggest problems are in laboratories. Many local health department labs lack the equipment and staff to quickly diagnose a biological attack.
Laboratory support is a universal issue across this country. There isn't a single part of the country, there isn't a single city that can say that they have adequate laboratory support.
While some communities prepare for the release of hazardous material, few spend the days necessary to rehearse for an infectious disease outbreak. Lack of coordination is another problem, not only among local, state, and federal agencies, but even among different departments of the same town.
In this country, only 11 states received any funds last year to do any kind of planning and coordination activities.
That may soon change. The administration plans to ask Congress for $1.5 billion to fight bioterrorism, including money to help communities better prepare their doctors and their hospitals for a biological attack. John McKenzie, ABC News, New York.